welcome to Confused Reviews, where Cartoon Drawing reviews movies. And can we just take a second to praise the Friday the 13th series? I mean, they managed to create a 12-picture franchise with another reboot on the way, just from creator Sean S. Cunningham wanting to make a Halloween ripoff set in the woods. But none of the sequels, nor Jason becoming a pop culture icon, would even exist without this movie. Friday the 13th, Part 2. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, don't you mean without the first film? And my response is, no, the first film, to many people's dismay, doesn't have Jason Voorhees as the killer. Instead, his mother, Pamela Voorhees, portrayed by the late great Betsy Palmer, is the unsuspecting killer who's been killing all the counselors since the 50s for the death of her son, who drowned due to counselors not paying attention to him, and instead off doing other things. But at the end of the film, our final girl, Alice, fucking decapitates Miss Voorhees. It was so crazy and unexpected, even Pamela's hands couldn't believe it. And to this day, it still remains one of my favorite horror movie finales of all time. And even more insane is at the very end, a young, zombified Jason jumps out of the water to kill Alice. Oh wait, it was a dream. Oh. Well, after the massive success of the first one, less than a year later, Part 2 was rushed into theaters. But instead of trying to resurrect Pamela Voorhees, they made the best decision in horror history, make an adult Jason the killer, who will be the killer from here on out. Or almost. So, will it be better than the original, or should it have never been made at all? This is Friday the 13th, Part 2. So the film begins on the set of Full House. Well, that was weird. And after a little girl is called inside by her mom, Jason jumps out from next to her. Was he just standing there the whole time? Freaky. I sure hope Jason enjoys this little vacation. He won't really leave Crystal Lake again until catching a ride on a boat to Manhattan. Fun fact, Jason is actually being played by a girl here, but not later in the movie. Why didn't they just use Warrington Gillette here, too, instead of using someone else for this one scene? Who knows. What's very weird about this scene is how Jason literally tracks down the final girl, who I assume lives in a different city just because she killed his mom. I mean, he doesn't do that for the final girls in later installments, so this aspect is rather out of place in the long scheme of things. Who knows, maybe she stuck around Crystal Lake just to die. What do I know? We then return to our protagonist from the first film, Alice, portrayed once again by Adrienne King, who's having a nightmare. No, not conjured by you. Instead, from the events of the previous installment, and it's a nice recap of the first movie. But being that I just did that, we'll just move on. Alice then decides to take a shower. Because it is a horror movie after all, and soon-to-be death really makes people want to be clean. She then gets a phone call with no one on the other line. We all know who that is. She then goes to make some tea and checks the fridge, seeing Pamela's severed head inside. I mean, she should really know to keep the head on ice, otherwise they're going to expire. A rookie mistake. Jason then stabs her in the side of the head with an ice pick, killing off the lone survivor of the original. What's really interesting about this whole opening is how Adrienne King only agreed to a smaller role because after the success the first movie was, she had frequent run-ins with a stalker who eventually broke into her apartment. So, what did they have her do for the sequel? Pretty much the same thing, except she actually dies. I mean, at least the reactions were genuine. Oh, and look how nice Jason is, taking the kettle off the burner. Otherwise, that could have caused a fire. We then see our young protagonist arrive in town, and Crazy Ralph is already scoping them out. He then tries to warn Sandra and not Kevin Bacon, but they obviously look at him like he's the kind of guy to creepily stand in food pantries. Oh wait.
Messenger of God.
The gang approaches Crystal Lake.
This place is spooky.
Then why are you going to go there? Once we reach Crystal Lake, we see numerous body bags, characters. Oh, and we have some great character development here. But, you know, he hits the right cheek, but she grabs the left. Weird. But it was Zac Efron that did it, so I guess it's fine. We have a counselor's meeting, but hold on, we don't have a final girl yet. Oh, there she is. Better late than never, Ginny. Then around the campfire later on, Paul recaps the legend of Jason, like they didn't just do that 20 fucking minutes ago, but whatever. The group is then jump scared by the usual prankster stereotype pretending to be Jason. But I know this is the first film appearance with him in it, and he doesn't look like this yet, but why do they make him look like a killer Indian? Like, that'd be the last thing I'd imagine Jason would look like. So then we have the routine group bonding scene the first movie had, and discount Zac Efron is dancing with a dog talking about fast food. Only in an 80s slasher. Ginny goes upstairs to go to bed, and Hold on a damn second. This is not what a normal slasher heroine should be doing. Every single one should be Laurie Strode and not any different. Curse you, movie, for being different. She should be quietly sitting in the corner while her friends are being killed in brutal and grotesque ways. What's next? Jason wearing a potato sack on his head? Paul then starts kissing Jenny, and we pan out to see Crazy Ralph is spying on them from a nearby tree. Oh, Crazy Ralph, you silly stalker, you. Man, it's been 31 minutes and none of our new characters have died. Jeez, what gives... Oh. Well, now I feel like an ass. Rest in peace, Crazy Ralph. Who will vaguely warn teens about their impending doom now? Tommy Jarvis, I suppose, for one sequel. And the dog Muffin wanders away from the group while they're all running and runs into Jason. Oh, so he decided to cook him up and eat him. Or he just killed it. Probably the latter. Oh, and Jenny is really making me think of another mainstream slasher. Terry is off trying to find her dog and clearly looks directly at Jason and asks if it's Muffin. Yes, these two totally resemble each other. Ginny puts away the chainsaw because it won't be needed again until 1986. Sandra really wants to go to Camp Blood with discount Kevin Bacon, but I have to ask why. What she thinks is going to happen there. Later in the movie, she's going to be having sex and die in a really cool way with a spear. Oh yeah, that does happen. The two get caught by a cop and Paul is reprimanded. Well, maybe you should put up more than 2 strips of barbed wire with one little no trespassing sign. The cop is driving to a Dunkin' Donuts or some such shit when he sees Jason running into the forest. Come on, Jay, you've been sneaky all movie, even when it makes 0 sense, so why'd you be noticed now? But it is his first movie, so I'll let it slide. After an extremely long chase scene, like it's literally 2,000 times longer than it needed to be. Here, I'll sum it up in 10 seconds. He gets caught running by the cop chases him, the cop pursues him to his homemade shack. Done. But the cop decided not to call back up to this obviously suspicious scene where a homeless man was able to construct a decent-sized shack in the middle of a murderous campground. I mean, look, he even made a window. This whole scene is one of the reasons I love this movie. It shows how Jason is basically a hermit who lives off the land.
Stop! Hammer time!
And now 75% of the counselors decide to go out and party. Wow, the people who go out and party and drink survive this movie? And Ginny goes too. Man, she's really throwing a curveball my way. Then again, Alice drank and smoked in the first one. But maybe she isn't our survivor girl. Oh, come on, we all know she is. After a scene with huge amounts of nudity, Zac Efron steals her clothes. Man, he's a creeper. First the butt slingshot and now this. He's gonna be on the sex offenders list in no time. But unfortunately for the legal system, he gets his throat cut instead. Terry comes back to find Scott dead and is killed off screen. Lame. Ginny is at the bar explaining over and over how Jason must have seen his mother get killed, and since she was his only friend, must have royally fucked him up if he saw her get beheaded. Next, Mark and Vicky are discussing how he's paralyzed. Come on, movie, stop making me feel sorry for these characters who will die soon.
Just your legs, huh? Is everything else okay?
Oh, and now they're talking about his dick. Awesome. It starts to storm and Mark hears something outside. He goes to investigate and instead gets a machete to the face. Come on, Jason, you could have at least let him have a little action before killing him. I mean, he's in a wheelchair. Dick move, Jason. Dick move. Jason makes his way upstairs where some sex has just ended and stabs the two with a spear. And it's a damn cool kill. Vicky goes upstairs to see if anyone is up there and finds Jason instead. And it only took 1 hour and 5 minutes to get a good look at Jason. This time around, he dons a bag on his head similar to the town that dreaded sundown. He also has some snazzy overalls and a bruised thumb. He then ever so slowly walks over to her and stabs her with a kitchen knife. Paul and Ginny return to camp and find a bloody bed. They investigate further and Jason throws Paul to the floor, and instead of helping him, Jenny stands around saying his name until Jason jump scares her. She attempts to hide in the bathroom, but Jay can smell a scared teen from a mile away. Ginny makes a run for the car, but this is a horror movie, so of course it won't start. She runs away to hide in some bushes, and she kicks Jason in the balls. After a thorough game of cat and mouse, Ginny sees an actual mouse and pisses herself. Ginny, that's gross and unprofessional. Jason then ever so slowly waits for her to emerge from underneath the bed and, like something from a Saturday morning cartoon, comedically falls off the chair, missing Ginny completely and also destroying the pitchfork. Ginny then gives him the closest thing we'll ever get to Jason vs. Leatherface movie and runs at him with a chainsaw. She then hits him with a chair and he's out cold. She runs into the woods and finds Jason's hermit house. She also finds Jason's shrine to his dear old mother's head. I mean, it even has candles lit around it. I mean, Jason is rivaling Norman Bates with this level of creepiness. Ginny then throws on Pamela's old sweater, and Jason somehow believes that it's his mother. Weird. Just as he's about to get stabbed, Jason looks behind Ginny and realizes, oh wait, my mother not only doesn't have long hair, not only doesn't look like she's 20, but was decapitated and is now dead. So Jay deflects her swing and slices her leg open with a rusty pickaxe. She's going to need a hefty tetanus shot. Paul returns for some reason, and instead of being completely worthless and letting Paul almost die again, Ginny finally does something and stabs Jason in the shoulder.
In slow motion.
But instead of getting the hell out of Dodge, Paul takes Ginny back to the cabin. He hears a noise again and
slowly
moves to the door. It turns out just to be Muffin, so it wasn't dead after all. Too bad her owner is. But just as you think it's over, Jason busts through the window for one final scare. Ginny is then carried off by the paramedics asking where Paul is, leaving it ambiguous if Paul ever saved her at all. But if he didn't, how come Jason didn't kill her and where did he go? Whatever. And as the credits roll, we get our final close-up of Pamela's severed head. Another fun fact, Pamela's eyes were supposed to open at this final scene, but it must have been too expensive or some dumb shit, or it might have been just too cool for a final scene, so they didn't use it. And that was Friday the 13th, Part 2. And does it still hold up? Yes and no. It is still a pretty good 80s slasher, and I wasn't bored watching it. But it is pretty weak in the kill department, and I prefer Jason's bulky hockey mask appearance a lot more than this hillbilly one. One thing I do like is Jason's hermit house in the middle of the woods. If Jason was a real guy who's been living in the woods for 21 years, he would build a little shack and live off the land. I wish they would have addressed a similar concept in later sequels, but they never do. I appreciate this movie as a stepping stone to better Friday sequels, and without it, Jason wouldn't be who he is today. But it certainly isn't the best in the series, but nor is it the worst either. It's right in the middle for me. I'm going to give this film a B-, because it is fun and entertaining, but nowhere near as good as later installments. I'd recommend it, but don't expect the best. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.